Walking is the most recommended form of daily exercise on the planet. Doctors suggest it, physical therapists prescribe it, and most people assume that as long as they are moving, they are doing something good for their body. A Gait analysis from 2021, published in the Journal of Orthopedic Research, found that nearly 68% of adults exhibit at least one biomechanical pattern during walking that accelerates cartilage loss in the knees and hips. That means 2 out of every 3 people are wearing down their joints with every single step, and they have no idea. These are not dramatic, obvious errors. They are subtle habits that feel completely normal. You could walk 10,000 steps a day for years and never realize the damage is building until the pain finally shows up on imaging. One of the 5 mistakes on this list is what orthopedic surgeons call the single most common cause of preventable knee replacement referrals, and it takes about 10 seconds to correct. Before we begin, tell us in the comments how many minutes you walk each day. Now let's start with number 5. Number 5. Overstriding. This is one of the most common walking patterns on any sidewalk in America, and it looks completely natural. The foot reaches out and lands on the heel well ahead of the body's center of mass. The problem is physics. When the heel strikes the ground far in front of you, the leg acts like a braking force. Instead of absorbing impact through bent joints, the shock travels straight up through the shin and into the knee. A 2019 analysis from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons found that overstriders experience up to 12% greater ground reaction force through the knee compared to those who land with the foot beneath the hips. Over thousands of steps per day, that extra force compounds into measurable cartilage damage. Kevin, a 54-year-old high school football coach from Knoxville, Tennessee, walked 3 miles every morning for 15 years. He figured longer strides meant a better workout. When his orthopedic specialist examined persistent knee pain, imaging showed significant cartilage thinning on both kneecaps. His surgeon pointed directly at stride length. The fix is simple. Shorten your stride so your foot lands directly beneath your pelvis, not out in front. Think of pulling yourself forward rather than reaching forward. Within 3 weeks of this adjustment, Kevin's morning knee stiffness went from a daily problem to a rare occurrence. But overstriding is only part of the story. The next mistake happens even lower, at the feet themselves. Number 4. Walking with your feet turned outward. If your toes point away from each other like a clock reading 10 and 2, you are loading your knee joints unevenly with every step you take. When the foot rotates outward beyond about 15 degrees, the force of each stride shifts toward the inner compartment of the knee, where osteoarthritis most commonly develops. A study published in 2020 in Arthritis Care and Research tracked over 2,000 adults and found that those with excessive external foot rotation showed 23% faster progression of medial compartment osteoarthritis over a 4-year period. Margaret, a 61-year-old former postal worker from Columbus, Ohio, had always walked with her feet turned out. She assumed it was just the way she was built. When her left knee pain became constant enough to affect her daily errands, her physical therapist noticed the rotation immediately. 6 weeks of targeted exercises focusing on hip internal rotation and conscious foot placement reduced her pain score from a 7 to a 3. The correction starts with awareness. During your next walk, glance down at your feet. If your toes angle outward beyond a slight natural position, focus on keeping them aimed straight ahead. Strengthening the hip internal rotators with clamshell exercises, 15 repetitions on each side, 3 times a week, helps make the correction permanent. Now, the next mistake does not happen at the feet or the knees. It happens at the trunk, and it damages the spine. Number 3. Leaning forward from the waist while walking. This is especially common in people who spend most of their day sitting at a desk, behind a steering wheel, or looking down at a phone. When the trunk tilts forward, even 5 to 10 degrees during walking, the lumbar spine compresses unevenly and the hip flexors shorten and overfire. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Biomechanics found that a forward trunk lean of just 8 degrees increased lumbar disc compression forces by 18% during walking. Tom, a 58-year-old long-haul truck driver from Indianapolis, walked every evening to stay active. But he always walked with his shoulders rounded and his torso pitched forward, mirroring his driving posture. A Gait assessment revealed the real source of his chronic lower back pain. Once Tom began walking with his chest lifted and his hips stacked beneath his shoulders, the pain decreased noticeably within a month. The correction is postural. Before each walk, stand tall against a wall with your head, shoulder blades, and tailbone all touching the surface. Walk away from the wall and try to maintain that alignment for the first 5 minutes. Over time, the upright posture becomes automatic. If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. We cover health topics like this every week. Now, let's move on, because the next 2 mistakes are the ones orthopedic surgeons say they wish more people knew about. Number 2. Locking the knee straight at heel strike. Many people were taught to walk tall with straight legs, and it feels like good posture. But fully extending the knee with each step grinds the cartilage behind the kneecap and places unnecessary stress on the anterior cruciate ligament. A 2022 study in the Journal of Orthopedic Research examined gait patterns in 480 adults and found that those who consistently hyperextended their knees during walking had 31% greater posterior cartilage wear compared to those who maintained a slight natural bend. Linda, a 63-year-old nurse from Charlotte, North Carolina, prided herself on her posture and her long, straight-legged stride. When she developed pain behind both knees that worsened after every walk, her orthopedic specialist pointed directly at her gait. She had been snapping her knees into full extension with every single step for decades. The fix feels subtle but makes an enormous difference. Maintain a slight, barely visible bend in the knee throughout each stride. Your knee should never lock completely straight during heel strike or the stance phase. Think of walking with soft knees, as if the ground beneath you is slightly uneven. Linda adopted this change and reported that her pain behind the knee dropped by half within 6 weeks. And now we have reached the most common, most correctable, and most impactful walking mistake on this entire list. Number 1. Hip drop caused by weak glute medius muscles. Orthopedic surgeons call this the Trendelenburg gait pattern, and it is the single most common biomechanical dysfunction they see in patients headed toward knee or hip replacement. Every time you take a step, the glute medius muscle on your standing leg is supposed to keep your pelvis level. When that muscle is weak, the opposite hip drops 2 to 3 centimeters with each stride. That small drop creates a chain reaction that cascades downward. The knee on the standing leg collapses inward. The ankle rolls. The lower back compensates by shifting laterally. Every joint from the hip down absorbs stress it was never designed to handle. A landmark 2020 study published in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy found that adults with measurable hip drop during walking were 2.4 times more likely to develop knee osteoarthritis within 5 years compared to those with level pelvic alignment. Robert, a 59-year-old electrician from Phoenix, Arizona, had been told by his surgeon that he would likely need a knee replacement within 3 years. His physical therapist noticed a pronounced hip drop on his right side during a gait analysis. After 12 weeks of targeted glute medius strengthening, specifically single-leg balance holds and lateral band walks performed 4 times per week, his hip drop corrected almost completely. At his follow-up appointment, his surgeon said the improvement in his gait was remarkable and that surgery was no longer urgent. Here is the test you can do right now. Stand on one leg in front of a mirror. Watch the opposite hip. If it drops visibly below the standing hip, your glute medius is weak. Start with 15-second single-leg stands 3 times per day on each side. Once you can hold for 60 seconds without any drop, progress to lateral band walks, 10 steps in each direction. This single correction protects the knee, the hip, and the lower back simultaneously. 5 walking mistakes. 5 corrections that take no extra time and require zero equipment. Your knees, hips, and lower back absorb thousands of steps every day. The difference between joints that last and joints that fail comes down to these small mechanical details. Start with 1 correction on your next walk. Your body maintains its ability to adapt and heal throughout your entire life. It just needs you to move the right way. Share this with someone who walks every day. They will thank you for it.